Welcome to the 16-ounce Cinema Podcast.
Hello and welcome to 16-ounce Cinema, the podcast where we drink pints and talk pictures. I am your host, TJ. I'm here with Michael.
You said you're going to be weird, not sexual. Hey, what's up?
And I'm also here
Mike.
with Angus.
Hello, all you cool cats out there.
All right, so Michael won the episode last time, so he got to pick his just oddly specific theme. Mike, since it's your theme, why don't you go ahead and tell our listeners what oddball specific theme you picked?
I believe I picked comedy sequels between 1981 and 1991.
1981 to 1990 is what you told us when we went out to pick our movies.
Good enough.
I did not understand what he was trying to text us when he came up with this. Like, because the thing he said sounded like a real drama to me, so I
immediately thought,
didn't
like,
get it.
he really wanted to talk about another 48 hours. I was like, that's it. He's just in a Nick Nolte phase. Not Eddie Murphy, specifically Nick Nolte. And he wanted to talk about it.
I clearly should have. Maybe I'll just talk about that movie instead. It was at least a comedy, so.
That's fine if you remember it. You can change horses midstream. Unless it's the terrible comic book movie, and then, I screamed at Angus for even attempting to change horses. So we got some beers to go with our comedy sequels from 1981 to 1990.
That's not very niche. There was a ton of sequels in that decade.
I had to fucking dig for mine. So, Mike, you're going to be leading the way today. Why don't you start telling us what your beer is?
Nothing exciting. It's the Longboard Island Lager. It's a really deliciously drinkable beer, and I'm having my second one. I haven't opened this one yet, though.
My
so
favorite
it's
go-tos. Okay. I drank that mostly on my honeymoon. That was my beer of choice on my honeymoon.
Oh. Angus, did you drink that beer on your honeymoon?
I did not. I probably had Busch.
I ended the honeymoon with Budweiser. That's when we invited her best friends. Her best friend and her husband came to the last night of our honeymoon because we just got bored.
I just realized my Busch joke was...
That wasn't a weird, we spiced up our marriage already one weekend. That was just they just came over and
He spiced it up with Budweiser.
we just had some Budweiser. Her husband didn't drink the Budweiser because he was being a beer snob at the time. I don't know if he still is. I don't talk to him, but...
They never stop being snobs.
I assume not, yeah. I don't really drink Budweiser now, but, I don't... Yeah, I can't look down my nose at it, even though I'll give Angus shit for drinking Busch.
I was going to say, you are a beer snob. Fuck you. You judge me all the time.
Because it's fun.
And what did TJ drink? What is TJ drinking?
All right, so mine actually kind of ties into...
I was middle.
It's from...
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Angus,
You guys,
what are you
I'll be
drinking for
back.
tonight's show?
you guys always pass over me for the beer thing.
See, this is why I make fun of you for your Busch, because you're such a crybaby.
No, it's just it's mine.
Oh, that's good.
Well,
so what is Angus drinking?
I had something before when we were supposed to record this before,
But
but
now he doesn't want to tell us.
no. I am. I'm trying to remember what it was because I drank it midweek because it had a fun name. I got Brewbus, You're My Boy Blue. And because we're
That's
doing
awesome.
comedy, so I figured that's funny because that's a comedy. So I already drank it days ago. It was good. I actually bought the 6-pack just because I knew I was gonna like it. It's like a fruit beer. It was like
Oh, I see what you're... I thought you drank your one beer days ago.
I drank all 6 days
rude.
ago. So right now I am drinking a Busch Light.
Nice.
Oh, my God. So mine... For once, I never drink beer. Well, I never drink beer. I always come to the table with tea or some bullshit or whatever. So I actually got one that ties to my movie this time. I got Avery Brewing. It's a Belgian-style white ale, and the name of the beer is White Rascal.
All right.
Are we ready to crack them?
Oh, wait, can I add one more thing about mine?
No. It's too late.
Mine relates to my movie because it was brewed in Florida, and my movie was recorded in Florida.
I'm excited
for your movie. I love Florida movies. Yeah.
I'm popping. I'm pouring mine in a wheat beer glass.
You're popping, I'm dropping my phone.
Fucking pagan.
I should have had the Bubba Gump glass, so well. I got nothing to say.
So that was an exciting 15 seconds of silence.
I was just staring at my beer.
I chugged mine.
I'm contemplating where I want to take the picture of it.
Should I jump right into my movie or?
Well, do we want to talk about our beers at all?
No.
Well, I'll talk about mine in a bit, I guess. I'm trying to take a picture of mine.
I love that this was TJ's thing for the show, was the whole beer thing, and then he doesn't even drink most of the time. Then he doesn't care if we talk about it.
Before we started, like my first thought when we were outlining what the show would be, we were like, yeah, beer, and then I was like, you guys, I don't think drinking beer is going to work. Or talking about
I'd be excited. I'd be more excited if I had a car, and then I would get a bunch of weird fucking beers all the time from Total Line. But I can't buy beer from them. I don't have anything cool. Is he gonna throw up now? What the hell?
Oh, this makes me so happy.
I inhaled it.
I'm drinking Everclear next time just so I can.
I'm not a copycat. I inhaled it. It's a good beer.
I'm gonna die for this podcast. Okay.
Mike just does an IV of Everclear for the next one.
It's literally exactly what you would expect when you hear the words Belgian style white ale. So
choking.
Very typical.
That sounds great. It's probably my favorite style of beer.
Exactly.
So,
it's kind of typical for the style, but I love the style, so I like the beer. All right, Michael, you watched a very specific movie.
I did. I watched a movie called The Two Jakes, which is a Jack Nicholson sequel to Chinatown, which is a great movie.
No, I heard Chinatown was actually like one of the great comedies. Was like a big influence for a lot of future directors, like the Farrelly brothers. Really like tried to emulate a lot of what, especially Jack Nicholson did in their movies.
Is their name the Farrelly brothers?
I know that. Like one of the movies that Pauly Shore looked to, he said in an interview, was Chinatown when he was filming Biodome.
Actually, doing my homework for this, it was actually In the Army is the movie he was referring to when he was talking about his Chinatown credentials.
That's just my Biodome fanboy coming out. We can dance.
No, Biodome came after Two Jakes. So I learned of The Two Jakes, which is a sequel to Chinatown, on a worst 50 comedy sequels page. And it was jammed between Revenge of the Nerds 2 and Princess Diaries 2.
I tried to find Revenge of the Nerds.
I totally figured, sweet, this is gonna be a great movie.
Because Chinatown was fucking hilarious.
But like halfway through watching the movie, I realized that like I didn't pick bad comedy sequels, so I have no idea why I was actually Googling shitty comedy sequels. I should have just watched a good comedy sequel, but I didn't.
Well, I thought you said that you came across the movie in this list, which then gave you the inspiration for this theme.
Oh, that might be true. I don't actually know how I live my life.
I remember your life better than you do.
By a significant margin.
I figured you were just drunk texting us at that point because you could not come up with a theme. It was so weird. It was all over the place. I got the
greatest fucking one. This one's great. How many sequels?
Chinatown.
Drew ideas out of the hat. Comedy sequel.
I must have been really
to 1990.
No, it was like 91.
I haven't been drunk in a very long time, so I must have been very excited for this specific podcast, I guess.
Angus was trying to say something funny, but we both kept shouting over him.
I know, now it's his turn.
It happened multiple times, so I'm just ignoring it at this point.
So anyway, at least I got to watch Chinatown finally, which was the best part of me picking this sequel. So.
Oh my god, that's gonna be a selling point.
No, actually, I have a pretty good selling point. You guys will love it. It's great. So the film starts with some shitty jazz, which I'm pretty sure every single film I've ever watched for this podcast had really shitty jazz, except for La La Land, which had great jazz.
La La Land had jazz.
Did the Mutiny?
I don't know.
Your war movie.
I don't know if my
jazz. You said.
I don't know if my Hood movie had jazz, but I'm pretty sure it did.
No, but my Hood movie had jazz.
Well, perfect. So we've just been jazzed all over the place.
Big swinging dick.
That's an episode we didn't release.
Oh, perfect. So this movie's yet. It'll be for later.
Best stuff.
This movie starts with a Jack Nicholson quote. He says, "Infidelity is what made me what I am today." So at least the opening line is very cool, and it's off to a great start. Also, there's a sex scene like right away. Unlike Chinatown, which took like an hour and a half to get there, and so
Mr. Skin.
the sexy jazz that plays is accentuated with a lovely woman orgasming, which transitions to Mr. Wolf from Pulp Fiction, Harvey Keitel, who I didn't know was in this movie until this moment, and he's looking like really nervous about his wife because they're listening to a tape recording of his wife fucking another man.
Oh, no.
And it's very. He's in Jack Nicholson's office, and then there's like a really quick play in the title where Nicholson mentions that Keitel is like himself named Jake, and they just kind of point at each other and go, "Yeah, I'm Jake and you're Jake."
I never have that experience with anyone.
Hey. You'll never meet somebody named Angus? I think you could.
I never have.
Mike must be doing it like 8 times a day.
Yeah, there's a lot of mics. And then after they do the Jake thing, they play the sex tape again, so we get more sex noises. That's like, twice.
Let's hear that one again. Top 40.
Yeah. All right, so then we transition to this is the transition. We transition to Harvey Keitel shooting the shit out of the guy who's fucking his wife again. So he interrupts them having sex. So we're on a sex roll right now. So what was happening was Nicholson was recording over Keitel walking in on fucking another guy, or walking in on the other guy fucking his wife. I guess they were trying to like record it so like he can just. I don't know what he was actually doing, so that's why I'm kind of bumbling around. But anyway, Harvey Keitel kills the guy fucking his wife that we were hearing earlier in the tape, and then more jazz plays.
Is it a videotape or just like an audio tape?
No, it's an audio tape because this takes place in like 1952. So the fact that he's actually dubbing over it is actually somewhat impressive.
So he's utterly convinced that's his wife just based on moans and oohs and ahs?
Oh no. So what Jack Nicholson is, he's a lawyer who follows around infidelity cases. So he records his wife fucking another guy, and then for some reason they're having him record over that in the room next to where his wife and the other dude usually have sex like every week. So they're literally like right next door. And then obviously Harvey Keitel loses his mind and starts blowing the guy away. So.
Ew.
No, not literally.
Didn't she do that?
I can't hold myself back anymore. Get over here.
He just.
That would have made this movie like 100 times better. Just gay Keitel wearing party shirts, blowing guys all the time. Holy shit, that would have been great.
I love the image of him pulling the guy's cock out of his wife to suck it.
He just fucking blowing the guy's just like, stop it, man! This isn't what I wanted. So is this movie even a comedy? Which the answer is kinda, but not really.
Okay.
There's a lot of like weird 1980s comedy movie noises that happen occasionally, and Jack Nicholson makes like, yeah. And Jack Nicholson makes a lot of weird faces, and like he also makes a lot of like with his mouth. So it's kind of like a dark comedy with no humor, if that kind of makes sense. Harvey Keitel calls Jews kikes the whole time. That's not really funny, but it was.
You had to go there. I was wondering what it was going to be this week.
Oh, we're not even to that point yet. This was just something Harvey Keitel does.
Oh, so it's not.
We finally got the
laugh. One of the funnier the whole bits in the movie is like Nicholson is fat at this point in his career, so they hide his fat in layers and dark clothes, and I just find it hilarious because like he runs a lot sometimes, and they kind of camera angle him away from the fat, but then sometimes you see his fat, and it just makes me laugh a little bit.
So does he narrate the whole movie like he does the trailer?
Yes, but not like every 30 minutes. It's like, oh yeah, here's Nicholson narrating. And it's pretty good. It's the best parts of the movie.
Every 30 minutes, he's like, "I'm Nicholson. I'm eating. I'm fat.
Yeah.
I wear dark clothes to hide my chubby belly."
No, he's like a poet or something in his head. It's very strange. I actually have a couple quotes from him coming up. So,
right. Did you like?
They just recorded him at craft services.
It was good. I was trying to hit mine, but I don't have a good one, so I'm not gonna do it. The next scene follows with Nicholson. He hits a woman, knocks her unconscious because she's being hysterical.
Hilarious.
Remember, this is the 50s, so that was I guess not frowned upon for a lawyer to do that. The woman he knocked out was the wife of the guy killed by Keitel, so she plays like a big role in the movie. And within like 20 minutes, there's been 3 earthquakes so far.
I thought you were gonna say
I don't know why.
scenes.
No, there was, I think. So this is the 3rd earthquake and 3rd, like, sexual thing happening. So a lot of earthquakes and sex so far. There's a great scene where Nicholson wakes up to a recording that is, like, apparently very important to the plot, but I can't really follow it or understand it for some reason. But I know it's important because, like, the camera pans away to, like, the recording playing, and then it pans to Jack Nicholson's face. And when they pan to his face, it looks like he jumped in the fucking ocean. He is drenched in so much sweat, and his shirt is just drenched, and he's just like, ah. So he's really
it's
focused.
Just fat
on
guy
it.
sweat.
Yeah. He caught whatever bug Harvey Keitel had. He's like, I got to.
It's gay. Anyway. So when they, when they pan back to the recording and then they pan back to him, like the sweat is completely gone. So fuck editing. Editing doesn't exist in this movie. My next scene is a good scene for me because it's a great foot scene. So,
no.
Jack?
Sorry, it's
Nicholson?
He has perfect feet.
They're sweaty.
Well, he was young back then, but so Nicholson he goes to help a woman, the same woman he knocked the fuck out because she's ODing on drugs because I guess men hit her all the time, and so he wants to throw her in the shower, but like she's like, no, I'm gonna OD on this bed, and so he tickles her butt a little bit, and I'm not kidding. He tickles her butt to get her in the shower. And when he tickles her butt, it makes her jump out of bed, and so he like puts her on his like shoulder like a Neanderthal, and like her feet are dangling, and so I like that. It's the best part of the film by far. So it turns out the whole thing of the movie is that Keitel actually the guy fucking Keitel's wife was also his business partner, and so it's coming out that like he knew that the guy was fucking his wife. And so he wanted to set him up to like legally kill him, and as like a fit of rage or something like that. So like that's the whole backbone of the story. Here's
this is a hilarious movie, by the way.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Jesus Christ, this is like Hot Shots level funny.
Yeah,
it is. When you're watching it, it's comedic. It's just I don't know. I'm not a good joke teller. I don't know the jokes in the movie. I guess there aren't any jokes now that I think
there's
about
no jokes, but it's funny. It's like a black comedy, but without the comedy. And I don't know how to tell the jokes because there aren't any jokes.
Listen, I found this movie on a 50 comedy sequels list. Okay, this isn't my fault. This is just what God gave me.
Yeah.
And
okay. So it's okay. Whatever.
I like that Google is God now.
Yeah. Dude, not even IMDb lists this thing as a comedy.
I'm sorry. It's a comedy to me. Anyway.
You just said twice now that it's not. That it's got no jokes and no comedy. And that it's not a comedy.
Okay, yeah, it's fair. It's not a comedy.
Play back the tape.
When you say it like that, TJ, it's not a comedy. But I found at least 2 sources that's listed as a comedy.
Mike doesn't even give a shit about the themes anymore. He's like, whatever. I'm just gonna watch whatever I want.
What are you talking about? Every movie I've watched has been on par for the theme.
I don't
except this
fucking
one is
listen to this show
wishy-washy.
anyway.
I literally listened to the last episode.
You listened to the
You're
last
just being
one?
Rude. You're just being rude because I didn't pick a comedy. So anyway.
You should have just picked infidelity movies.
Well, then I could just do this one over again. So what's happening next? All right, so next we hit Nicholson kind of doing his narration things again. He says some things like time changes things, like the fruit stand that turns into a gas station, which didn't make any sense. Yeah, boo-hoo. He makes a lot of metaphors. So anyway, he's like driving around. There's like a 6-minute like monologue now, and he's made 9 metaphors kind of like that. So Harvey, after he takes his drive, he's actually driving to Harvey Keitel's place, where Harvey Keitel says is that nobody wants to live next to Jews or Mexicans, and the scene ends. The scene ends with just kind of like Nicholson giving him the look, like, why do I have to deal with this guy? So I don't think he likes him very much. With Harvey Keitel has an employee named Earl, and I actually don't know his name, but he's actually the character from the remake of I Spit on Your Grave, so I was really excited to see him. He's also Bob the Goon from Batman in '89, and a gay librarian from Philadelphia. So
does it say gay librarian on his IMDb?
No, I added that part myself, assuming he was a
gay librarian. There's a whole like gay hot dog stand guy, gay baseball player.
Your book's over there, sweetie.
So I guess he's not relevant to the plot, but I like him a lot. So, he's also the goofy guy Malik from Conan the Destroyer. So he's that guy. If you like that movie a lot,
I have no fucking
if you like Conan the Destroyer a lot.
Where you studied every background character and know their names from Conan the Destroyer.
And you're a fanboy for all of them for being in Conan the Destroyer.
I secretly just watched this movie for Earl here from I Spit on Your Grave.
I've watched archive footage of Wilt Chamberlain because I loved Conan the Destroyer so much.
Dude, I'm a big Philadelphia guy. Like, I have Philadelphia tattoos. That movie just means the world to me.
The Gay Librarian. And
Gay Librarian was the high point of that movie by far.
I'm Gay Librarian.
No, I think I'm done with that point. So,
okay, sorry, we'll move on.
No. So for a while, Oriental music starts playing, and for no real reason because we've been having this jazz nonstop.
It's a sequel to Chinatown.
And then, well, yeah, actually, the reason this happens is because it's like a callback to Chinatown because we meet the Chinese guy from the original movie. So it's kind of like the Oriental music stopped right as it got to his face, and I thought that was kind of funny. Now listen, I don't want you to get mad right now.
It's like
okay?
the movie was making fun of him behind his back, like, oh, he's Chinese. Oh, he's looking.
That is actually the way it kind of like played it because so that's actually a little bit. And then it started playing again afterwards too. So like I was saying earlier, I do not want you to get mad. But a couple fucking guineas show up and they beat up Jack Nicholson in his office.
You're gonna have a doozy with my movie, but go on.
And one of the big bulky guys, he hands him a hand grenade, and then Jack Nicholson's like, "What's this?" And the guy's like, "It's a fucking hand grenade, man," which was really fun. So one of the guys wants him to blow something up in his safe, so that's why he handed him the grenade. And then Jack's like, "Okay," because they're pointing a gun at him. And then he's about to do it, and the guy's like, wait. The most important part is that you close the door after. And I guess that was supposed to be like a joke. So maybe there's your joke. That's what he said. There's your joke. There's a joke in the movie. So that happens for a little while. Nicholson wakes up on a couch for the 3rd time after being knocked out. He keeps doing that. He keeps getting knocked out. So like in the first movie, he just had like a big cut on his face. In this one, he just kept getting knocked unconscious and waking up on a couch.
So have you seen the first movie?
Yeah, I actually watched the movie just for this. So I wanted like context
just for this?
The movie. So
yeah,
well, and it's a great movie. It is one of the better movies ever made, I guess. So
TJ, have you seen it?
No, I was waiting for us to have the Directors Who Are Rapists theme to watch Chinatown.
Oh God, is it a rapist?
Roman Polanski.
Who is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
yeah. So next scene, Nicholson beats up another woman. He does this quite a bit, apparently.
So every time he gets beat up, he knocks out a woman, like out of retaliation.
Wow, that's deep, man.
So anyway, he shakes the fuck out of her, and then they have sex. That's
while she's
scene.
Unconscious.
No, he doesn't go like he doesn't knock this one out. This one he shakes, which I guess gets it going.
Her?
Also, so this is how it's like he shakes her, and then they kind of like go at each other.
Ready. Like, let me shake up this orange juice first, and then I can drink it. Let me shake you up, get you good and wet.
And so I like that Mike isn't concerned. Like, this is normal for Mike.
Yeah,
just
like,
beating up a woman, shaking her, and fucking her.
I don't know the 50s. I assume this is what the 50s was like. I don't know.
60 years ago, I had to be shaken before sex.
So
I like my sex shaken, not stirred.
So after he shakes her, she's like, "So you got." This is what she says. She says, "You're gonna make me do it. You're gonna make me do it." She says that like 12 times.
Oh, that's rape.
And then Nicholson has his look on his face. And he's like, and he says, "Yeah, and that's when they do it.
Do it.
And this is also the wife of the guy who was murdered, by the way. So
okay, whatever.
Yeah. What do you mean? Okay, whatever. It's the story.
No, I'm listening.
What?
I said I'm listening.
Okay. So the rest of the movie loses its comedic appeal, and it's really just.
Did it ever have it?
And it really just ends up being a solid movie about oil, land, and shady businesses and things like that. There's a few parts where like Nicholson goes to the police station, and the police accuse Nicholson of homosexuality. But I'm not really sure why.
I lost my mind.
Because the cop who accused him of homosexuality also said that incest is like a dog and a squid mating. So maybe the cop is just a moron. I don't know.
Yeah, wasn't Keitel the one sucking dick?
No, this is another cop. So he's being interviewed by cops at this point. So Harvey Keitel is actually like a business baron of some kind. And that's about the movie. That's about it for the movie. The movie literally ends with everyone getting off scot-free, and Harvey Keitel being diagnosed with cancer and blowing himself up in one of his mobile homes.
Ew.
And then
I didn't know they could do that.
You should stop saying blowing off.
Wait, and then after that blow up happens, Nicholson says, "Notice." What the hell?
You just can't say blow for the rest of this episode, dude.
Well, and I am done with my my comedy-free comedy sequel selection for the night. So I'm sorry to disappoint.
Oh man, I had a blast with that one.
Jesus Christ. I still don't know why I watched what I did after hearing this, because
we could have just had it like an infidelity fest.
Yeah, like this could have been anything else but comedy sequel. Like any other genre, this would have fit in.
Yeah, I should have watched Godfather 3.
Oh man!
All right, Angus. You want to roll right into your movie?
Give me 1 second. I want to grab a beer.
All right.
All right, the movie that I picked this week, I told you guys that I picked a Florida beer.
Yeah.
Because my movie was filmed in Florida. And I did a sequel to a movie that I've never seen the original. And I wasn't going to go back and watch it. Like Chinatown, I guess. But I'm sure it was more of a comedy than that. I picked Porky's 2, The Next Day.
All right.
And
I was hoping you'd land on a Porky's. Really, Porky's and Revenge of the Nerds are like the obvious choices.
Well, my original choice was I wanted to do, because I watched Reno 911 Miami recently, And I forgot how fucking funny that movie is because it's the first time I've seen it since it basically came out. So I was going to watch a Police Academy movie, and there was one where they actually went to Miami, but I couldn't get a hold of a copy in time. The only ones I could find were like 1 through 4, and this one was like part 6. So I guess there's 7 total Police Academy movies.
It's not on YouTube?
Like the last one was... No. You had to pay for it on YouTube.
Oh, I would assume that there would be just trashy copies all over YouTube of basically all of those movies.
The only thing was the trailers. I could have bought the Blu-ray set for $25, but I didn't want to do that.
Those are worth about 50 cents a movie, so yeah, that's way overpriced.
Yeah, because even the DVDs were expensive. Like, you only got like 4 per, like, the disc. You know how Walmart does like those 4 packs? They were $7.50 a piece, so I was like, no, I'm not fucking doing that. I'm looking for something I have. And as you guys know, I'm in the process of moving, so my choices were very limited. All my movies were already packed at this point, so this is going to make this podcast hell for me the next couple of weeks, because I have no movies that are not unpacked, except like a couple random like burns in like books. So I had to go through and find something, and the only movie that I saw that was a comedy sequel from the 80s was Porky's 2 the next day, and I put it in, and it's hilarious because I recorded this on my Blu-ray burner, the first one I ever bought, where you actually burn it off the television while watching.
Okay.
And I burned it from Encore.
I didn't know you could even do that. That's interesting.
Yeah, this was like 2004, I want to say. This copy. And it just has like a loud bzzz throughout the entire film. It's so fucking annoying. Anyways, yeah, so on to the movie. I never saw the original Porky, so the movie begins with flashbacks from the first movie.
It's a clip show.
And yeah, basically, and it's a pretty lengthy one. I didn't really write anything down for it, just said clips from first movie. There was a guy with like a condom over his head, and he was playing multiple choice.
Was Porky's the one with like Tom Hanks and stuff? Or
that's Bachelor Party.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I actually, that was my first go-to. I was like, there must have been a Bachelor Party too, but it was one of those like shitty sequels that came out.
It was like 2000s, right?
Yeah, it came out actually fairly recently, and I was like, well, damn it! Like, I was hoping a Bachelor Party 2 from like 1988 with like nobody in it.
Yeah, no, because they did the same thing with Roadhouse, where they did one in like the 2000s, like a part 2.
So I was upset.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, Porky's is the one where it's famous for the guy sticking his dick through the hole in the shower, and then the old fucking gym teacher grabs the guy's dick. Like, that's what it's known for.
It was Harvey Keitel.
That was shit. Harvey Keitel, and he just started sucking the shit out of that dick. And then he laughed like the devil, yes. Because that's what he does.
That's my Harvey Keitel impression.
Sucking dick and cackling. Not sure that impression has ever been made, so we're making fucking history right now.
Thrashing my head back and forth as I do the laugh.
Oh, fuck, I'm not going to be able to follow up to that. So, yeah, there's, like, random scenes from the first movie, and there's a black dude with a machete at one point who runs into a cabin full of just naked guys. There's, like, 12 naked men and just a black guy with a machete going, ah! And then they're all freaking out and running around. Just, like, soft white dicks everywhere.
You recorded this off Encore or Cinemax?
Encore.
Okay.
And one of the funny things is, I was going to get this later, but like at the end of the movie, like it was finished and it still recorded like the things that were coming up next on Encore. Aww. And one of them was Arnold Schwarzenegger in Eraser.
Oh, nice. That would have been fun.
And then the one after it was RoboCop 3.
Oh my god! So these stations where you pay premium prices for movies have really improved over the last 14 years.
Absolutely.
You have to pay extra this was Encore. That's bullshit. They're playing fucking Porky's 2, Eraser, and RoboCop 3. That's a horrible afternoon lineup.
No, it wasn't even afternoon. This was prime time because Porky's was 6 o'clock, Eraser was 8 o'clock, and then they followed it. They ended it all with RoboCop 3.
Oh my god! Wow.
All right, so from all the clips, I gathered that these guys just wanted to get laid and somehow ended up destroying a shed out in the swamp.
That's where the horror movie.
Well, they like kind of like just like pulled out like
a comedy either.
No, sadly I didn't. I thought it was. It wasn't.
Oh no, right. We all fucked up.
No, speak for yourself.
Fucking. Oh god, I can't wait for TJ's now.
I actually watched a funny movie.
Hopefully, there's laughs to be had.
Oh, mine's not gonna fit the theme any longer. It's the only funny one.
Well, I give mine this. It tried.
Yeah,
no, it didn't. I'm lying.
Oh.
Yeah, Porky's was definitely a comedy, so alright, yeah.
Well, like, they rushed this script. Apparently, like, the movie was made, like, 11 months after the first one. Like, written, filmed, and edited, and came out within 11 months of the first one being hit.
Was it the same actors and stuff?
I guess. Oh, I didn't watch. I'm going to assume, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we cut to the movie. The main guy wakes up. His name is Pee-wee. And he basically looks like the fat kid from The Sandlot if he had AIDS and
no.
And kind of was like Dean Bakar-esque.
Who?
If that makes sense.
Yeah. I'm listening to your description, but for some reason I'm just placing. I'm going to place the Revenge of the Nerds cast in there. So this guy's Booger.
Okay, well, yeah, I guess. All right. He woke up and apparently he got laid, and he's like, "Oh yeah," but he thinks his dick is broken because now he can't get it up because usually he has a hard-on when he wakes up because he got laid for the first time, and this is weird to him. So he pulls out a National Geographic and just tries to work up a fucking boner to, like, crazy banana black tits. And it doesn't work, so he's trying to hide it from his mom who walks in.
Wait, trying to hide the fact that he doesn't have a boner from his mom?
Yeah, because apparently every morning he just shows her his rod and is like, you created this.
She's like, I'm losing my mind.
She's Keitel.
She's going to be disappointed in him now.
But he hides the thing, and then his mother finds us like, oh! And then it just cuts to them going to school, and he's just bragging about banging a chick whose name is Wendy Williams.
Oh.
Which is funny. Because isn't that the one lady with the talk show? The black chick.
Is it?
I thought isn't her name Wendy Williams?
Dude.
The one like, okay, and like she just dances and shit, and she looks like a big, I almost said the T word. I can't say that one anymore.
A Tyrannosaurus. I'm going to say yes. Yes, that's her name.
That's her, right? Yeah,
I'm going to say yes.
And now this guy is just such a badass. He's a stud, and he's telling all his friends he's going to get all them laid by, like, chicks and stuff because he knows how to do it. And...
except he has AIDS. That sucks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he does. He caught it that night and just deteriorated. In one night. This was before they really knew.
Yeah. They, like, equated it to zombies.
And all his friends are just fucking with him. Like, you're crazy. She fucks everyone. You didn't get anything special. You barely rocked her world. And then, like, she comes by and she's like, hey, he's like, hey, Wendy, how's it going? I did that, right? And then they're like, she's like, excuse me, who are you?
Oh.
And it turns out his friends, like, told her to do that so he would be embarrassed, but she actually liked him and had a good time. So, it was all nice in the end. And then
you didn't get depressed and kill him.
That's the whole movie. It's all nice in the end. That's it.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Coming of age story gets
Yeah, it's not like simple, straightforward story. It's got a couple jokes in there, you know, a little ups, some downs, some good camaraderie.
Camaraderie.
It's a good word. I like it. And then in my notes, it just says, they mentioned being chased by a machete-wielding colored person. And that's the exact term they used, was machete-wielding colored person.
Oh my God.
I'd be very scared.
That's a little...
Scary.
Like, when did this come out? It seems like the 1980s are a little late in the game to be using that terminology.
Yeah, I think it was 82, 83 maybe.
I thought
But
that
yeah,
stopped being
it was
okay.
definitely...
Like 1958, they're like, we're done with that.
Yeah, no, it's definitely past that. But there's some other words in this movie later on that I'm not allowed to say or
I'm
going to
sure
say
there are.
for... Like, that's probably the most risque I'll get on this. He goes around the school and is, like, asking all the guys who, like, crush puss, like, if they know anyone, because he's like, my boys. I need to get my boys laid. And every single guy that he talks to, they all say, oh yeah, Wendy Williams. She's a total slut. And he's like, why I? And then he just, like, but he's not going to beat these guys up. He's, like, too small. So then we cut to drama class, and there's, like, one of the friends, he's playing a fairy in the thing. In
awesome.
They're doing a Shakespeare play, like, Midsummer's whatever. I think.
Night's Dream?
Yeah,
That's
I think
wonderful.
that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right. They're doing Shakespeare in Love, and one of the guys is playing a fairy, and then for 5 minutes straight, they're just making fairy jokes about him.
Like gay or like a fairy that goes
he's
on a
playing
river?
a fairy, but they make fairy jokes like he's gay.
Yeah, okay.
Like, and it just goes on
lie
for
with the
entirely
fairy.
too long when it's not funny to begin with. Like, it just kept dragging so bad, and I mean, I like fairy jokes as much as the next guy, but...
You think they did
right.
like a commentary on this, and they had to look back on that, and they're just like...
I hope they just apologize to every, like, race and sexual orientation throughout the commentary. Like, we're so sorry. We didn't know what we were doing. It was a different time.
I almost want to, like, seek out a DVD just to get the commentary for Porky's too, and see if these guys make amends at all.
I really don't think they're alive. They all look pretty AIDS-ridden.
Cursed by karma.
Partied too hard in 82.
Alright, this part actually made me laugh. They're in science class, and then this girl just starts screaming, and then the camera pans down, and all the dead frogs that they're supposed to dissect all have little fake dicks with their arm grabbing them. Which is a hilarious prank. That's it. That was the entire scene. They just, like, wanted to show frog dicks. Then he talks to his girl about being a whore. And she's like, I'm not a whore. I've only had sex twice. And the reason they said that is because when I was in middle school, a bunch of guys were skinny dipping, and I watched, and I giggled, so they called me a whore.
Oh, sure.
That's
how
the
it
story.
works.
I think she was just a whore.
Yeah,
Like, that's my
believable.
opinion. Some more fairy jokes occur.
Oh my
That's what I
god! Stop!
I think there's 4 separate instances with the fairy jokes, but I only listed 2.
Wait, were they gay jokes, or were they you're dressed like a fairy?
You're
jokes,
dressed
or
like a fairy, so you're gay. Haha, you're gay.
Exactly.
So
That's what it was.
Wow.
So then an Indian walks by while they're making these jokes, and they're like,
Oh.
I hope the Indians are wearing blackface. Just to add it on.
Might as well.
Oh god, I want to make a joke so bad with that right now, but I can't.
Yeah, I walked away from it too.
Oh,
It's like drop that.
all right.
one.
So they're like,
Let it alone.
oh man. Can we tell each other after the
of
show what we
course.
were gonna say?
Be the DVD extras. Kind of disappointed we're not sharing the wonderful joke now, but
If we ever get the Patreon, they'll hear it. You're gonna have to pay to be offended.
Yeah.
So the Indian walks by and they discuss
blackface.
that it's in blackface, and they discuss that all Seminoles do that. All Seminoles wear blackface.
oh, I was picturing the wrong goddamn Indian.
I was too.
Oh shit! So now I don't even know what your joke was. Now it's really biting at me because I want to know what it was. Because mine was totally different. Oh fuck! So no, it's set
what's
in
happening
Florida.
with Indian?
So they're Seminoles. They're Seminole Indians, and this kid, his name is John, the Indian.
Okay.
Well, they don't call John the Indian. Okay, yeah, I'll just explain him like that. He's going to be the star of the play. And then
Dressed like a fairy?
no, he's not a fairy. He's like the main guy from
Okay.
fucking whatever. So he's. I'll get to it in a second. Then Pee Wee says that he found a girl that's gonna fuck all his friends. He found this girl in like a fucking in a carnival.
That sounds about right.
And she said she's an actress, so she'll like act and do all this. And
That seems like a good friend.
Yeah. Where is this
He's
guy?
doing
He's like, everyone, guys, we're all gonna get laid.
Yeah.
He's doing all this for guys who like just shit all over him and told him his girlfriend's a whore. Like he's such a good guy.
His girlfriend is a whore, so
Yeah.
Well, maybe we don't know that. She watched some dude skinny dip.
that's all right.
Yeah. We've all.
So
done
this girl
that.
that's we all watched dude skinny dip.
I didn't hear you saying speak for yourself.
The chick's name, like that he's telling them, her name is Graveyard Gloria, the fuck of death. Because her thing is like she can only get off in the graveyard. So the plan is to take all his friends there to fucking run a train on this girl in a graveyard because that's the only way she gets it. But she's an actress and all this,
Sounds like
so
just a great high school experience.
ours was nothing like this. No, this is still high school.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's high school.
Yeah.
It's the next day from Porky's 1.
Oh, that's fast.
We're at the rehearsal of the play. Pee-wee's mom is the one who runs the whole thing, and he's embarrassed by his costume because he's like a little green elf man. And then everybody just laughs at him. And while they're doing this, some people kick in the door, and it's the Reverend of the town, and he wants the place shut down because it's offensive. I don't know what that means. I wrote down tongue and tail.
Ah.
Huh. Alright, well, we'll ignore that. But anyways, this Reverend's a real
fairy
dick.
shit. It's fine.
He's like a southern, like, dickhead reverend who's like, oh, Jesus wouldn't like this, and blah, and cast a spell on you cunts. I don't know. And he's arguing with the principal over the So him and the principal get in this argument over Shakespeare and the Bible and which is more offensive. And this goes on for a bit. So then we cut to Graveyard Gloria. And Pee-wee's friend, he got one of his friends to dress as a zombie to hide in the cemetery to trick his friends when they come to fuck Gloria.
This sounds
right?
awesome. I'm totally into this.
So the friend hides in a grave, right? And he's like, blah, blah. And he's just...
Excuse me.
So the guys are all excited because they're driving with this chick, and like she's pretending to like be into them, and she's like, "Oh my god, there's a graveyard! I'm so horny. Let's do this, all of you." And then they like pull over, like yeah, and then she gets out of the car, and it turns out the guys like behind Pee-wee's back made a thing with her, knowing she wasn't real. She wasn't really a graveyard
Gloria. So she's not really into graveyards?
Well, no, she was an actress from the carnival, and then these guys.
I thought she was an actress from the carnival who was also into graveyards.
Yeah, no, that was all fake.
Like into the graveyards, and this was like I thought this was really happening.
No. Pee-wee came up with that as the joke to fuck with his friends. So then his friend the zombie will jump out and scare them.
Oh, okay. I thought the zombie was just like an aside, and that the real joke was like, oh, let's get you all in the graveyard, and then you're not going to get laid.
Well, it was to get him in the graveyard, not laid, and then a zombie jumps at him. But the thing is, the guys knew like something. Yeah, the guys knew something was up though, so they got the girl to pretend like she liked Pee-wee and she really was into the graveyard thing. So then she took Pee-wee and like started banging him, and then he was like trying to tell the zombie guy like, no, cut it out, the plan's canceled.
So wait, she actually started having sex with him?
She was going to, like, she was doing it, but then she pretended to die in the middle of it because they told her to die in the middle of sex so he'd freak out.
So he was so he still got laid.
No, he never got laid. She took her tits out. That's it.
Oh. Okay.
And, for a movie called Porky's, you'd expect there to be, like, a lot of tits, right?
Yeah. More feet.
This is the only pair you see.
That's weird.
And the funny thing about it is, I don't think you guys would understand, but, like, when I saw the chick, I knew the face, and she's from an episode, like, she's from a movie called Space Mutiny, which is, like, one of my favorite episodes of Mystery Science Theater, where they make fun of this girl all the time for being an old lady. Mm-hmm. Like, they keep calling her grandma daughter, and she's, like, 34, but she looks like she's 62.
Oh.
Like, even now she isn't even 62, like, to this day. But, like, she just really looked that old. And, Mystery Science Theater is actually their new thing, Riff Tracks. They're doing a live version of that movie next month for Space Mutiny.
On the big screen.
Yeah, exactly. But she doesn't show tits in that, but she does in this. And they're actually nice for a 34, 62-year-old. I just thought that was interesting because I've seen that movie like 1,000 times.
And you've always wondered what color her nipples were.
Yeah, and they were pretty nice. All right. Anyway, she pretends to die. Pee-wee freaks out, and the zombie comes out of the grave and scares people. But then these rednecks jump out of the woods and start shooting at him and shooting at the pervert's fucking dead bodies because they think that's what's going on. So now they're chasing them down with shotguns, and the zombie doesn't realize what, like, the severity of the situation he's in. And he's just lumping down the street, and then he's like, woo, woo, the whole time. Like a fucking buddy patrol.
Like, not funny. This sounds hilarious.
It's not I'm making it funny.
It's just like everything falls flat is the problem?
It's so flat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, it's so fucking flat.
It sounds fucking... I'm glad I'm watching it through you, because it sounds...
Yeah,
great.
like, you're getting a better version
so everybody
through me.
just, like, hams it up too much?
Yeah, and it's so predictable and funny, like unfunny when it's happening. Anyways, like, he starts beating on the cop car and all that. The Indian has the lead in the role, and now the KKK is angry. Oh, no. And they want the place shut down, too. the bitchy gym teacher, the one who grabbed the dude's dick in the first movie, she goes to the bathroom and she's like part of the religious right that's like trying to shut the play down also.
Yeah.
Well, she grabbed it out of anger, not really like pleasure. Okay. She's just like, "Oh, you," and then grabbed it.
Not like Harvey Keitel, which just sucks and blows it out of anger. Surprise, Harvey Keitel.
Oh God. I'm just thinking like going full Keitel.
Every time we have to pause and recollect.
Fuck, I can't. Harvey Keitel just violently jerking dicks is all I'm thinking about now. I can't get it out of my mind.
We weren't ready to get past Harvey.
About the religious right gym teacher who goes around grabbing dicks.
Okay, yeah. Well, the guys play a prank on her where they put a snake in the pipes and the snake comes out the toilet.
Okay.
And then she runs out with her pants off, all
That's stupid.
It is so
like
dumb.
Porky's, yeah.
All right, the county commissioner shut down the play, but then the one girl says she has a friend who is the county commissioner and he'll help. He was on board with them, like, because she went to him, and remember, she's like 17, and she's known this guy forever because he was a friend of her father's. He says he'll help them, like, do the play, but then, like, after they left, he realized that he was up for election soon, and if he voted to do the play, he would lose, like, 60% of his votes. So he cancels the play.
Oh.
But they don't know that yet. Now all of a sudden we're jumping to a cross burning, and the KKK beat up John the Seminole.
Oh.
He's just like... he's just kind of got like a couple bruises and everything, but like there's just a giant fucking cross on fire, and then it shows like two Klansmen in a car. And, like, the guys are like, "Who did this? What happened to you, John?" And he's like, jerks. And, like, they're trying to put the cross out, and the racists are like, "Look at him, disrespecting the cross." Which is kind of funny, because it's on fire.
So are the KKK angry at John the Indian, or what?
Yeah, they're angry at John the Indian because he makes out with a white woman in the play.
Oh.
And then the religious people are just angry because it's just smut. Like, and the religious people don't want any part of the KKK part.
Then they fight oh, okay. I was going to say, then they fight each other or something.
Yeah.
That would have been cool.
Alright, the religious people shut it down. The Klan shows up to support the religious people, but they don't want it. I just said that. The town they talk about like how the town council is like just a bunch of perverts and they're hypocrites for wanting to do this. And it shows them, like, even with the Reverend in, like, a basement watching, like, old stag films, just going fucking crazy. Like, "Oh my God, look at his dick. It's amazing. Look at him titties," and just shit like that. But the Porkies are recording them, and they don't know that. Like, they got, like, just a mic up to the thing. And now I'm just referring to the kids as the Porkies, apparently.
That works.
It says... One of the Porkies dresses as a Klansman before the rally, because they were having the big rally, the religious people, and then the Klansmen were going to show up and show their support. So one of them dresses up like a Klansman, and then they trick the Klan by one of the guys going like, "Hey, over here, you fucking racist fucks!" And then like they beat up one of the Klansmen, and then like the Porky Klansman like takes his place at the front. He's just like, "All right, well, that's enough. Let's go." And then he's like just making them march, and they bring him to like a dark gym, like so all the Klansmen are in a dark gym, and then they start They show John come out, the Seminole, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, I remember beating him up," and they like all take off their masks and stuff, and they're just all happy. And then they turn the lights on, and the fucking gymnasium is just filled with fucking Indians.
Oh.
And they're just like, oh shit. And then like one of them just does the funniest thing. He just slowly puts his fucking hood back down. So at this point, like, the Porkies are all like, well, you guys are fucking assholes and racist. So what we got here is thing. Do you know the Jewish people, how they like to perform brisses? Do you know what a briss is? It's when they cut off the penis, the foreskin of a penis, and they have the little tool. So then they take all the Klansmen and then cut all their hair off with the circumcision tool.
So they turn them into skinheads? That doesn't seem good.
Yeah, they cut off all their hair, make them skinheads with circumcision scissors.
I liked it better with the whole zombie thing in the graveyard.
Yeah, zombie graveyard sex was great.
I was there. And, man,
that was the best part.
Really fell off.
All right, the councilman now. He's on a date with the chick that the 16-year or 17-year-old girl that he's like known since she was little. Yeah, he's older.
Okay, cool.
I'd say about like 40s.
So they're just making sure they check all the boxes of disgusting and offensive.
Oh yeah. Like everybody's a scumbag in this. That's not Porky's.
Even there,
John seems all right.
Yeah, John's like the only good guy.
Yeah, no, actually, John is the only good guy. Oh, and I forgot a funny scene with him. Like his sword broke in the middle of like acting in front of the play, and then he just like the other guy kept yelling "sword, sword," like because he was still like trying to fake fight with a broken sword, and then somebody just passes him a prosthetic leg. It was a dumb little thing, but it actually made me giggle a little. Because then he stabbed the guy with a prosthetic leg, and it was like, ah. So they got anyways, the councilman's on
in there too, just for good measure.
Just everybody. Councilman dates 17-year-old girl. This is the girl that he's known since she was a little kid. She comes in like a bumbling fool on purpose. Like she has these big fake tits that they rigged up with something. And
dynamite.
That's been great. She just blows the whole fucking thing up. She just makes like herself crazy and keeps pointing out that she's a fucking 17-year-old and all this, and is just being obnoxious and stealing people's drinks and fucking shit up. We go back to the thing that the religious people are holding, their little rally. And the Porkies lead all the bald Klansmen there naked through the religious rally. And then, like, there's just a bunch of naked racists running around with their fucking dicks swinging. And then they start to play the tape of the Reverend at the stag party yelling about big dicks and how much he loves them. And one of the quotes was, "Look at the dick on that one." And then one of the Klansmen points to himself like, "Me?" Like he was like, "Oh, cool." Like he noticed. We cut back to the girl. She's now puking into the fountain out of her tits with fake puke. That's why the fake tits. Yeah. And then they're spinning newspapers. Like my last movie, that's always a staple of spinning newspapers. The commissioner resigns. Reverend charged on lewd behavior. High school gets to do the play. End of movie.
All right.
That sounds miserable.
I like Graveyard Gloria. It's my favorite nickname.
Yeah. That was
the fuck of death.
Yeah. All right.
Wow, I went on for really long on that one.
I'll just cut it to ribbons. Okay, so I actually...
Oh, shit. Sorry, that was really loud in my head.
Okay.
It's just...
Should I go back to the other voice?
Maybe in the middle.
Seductive.
Maybe in the middle somewhere.
No, I'm going to go to the loud voice. So I actually watched the comedy. This movie, I actually laughed. I dug deep for this one, so like basically good luck if you actually want to watch it. I went on
Revenge of the Nerds 2.
What?
Revenge of the Nerds 2.
You see, so I didn't want to do Revenge of the Nerds or Porky's, luckily, because you did Porky's. So I went on Critiker, and I went, put that little year, that almost a decade, and that it had to be a comedy, and then selected that I hadn't watched it, because I prefer to watch movies I haven't watched for the podcast, and just went through everything looking for sequels. What I ended up with was a movie that I had to, go to the underbelly of the internet to find, because there's only an international Blu-ray and there's no English subtitles on that Blu-ray. And speaking of subtitles, the movie file I found was only in Italian, and I had to go separate to find the subtitles, which luckily paired up, and I didn't have to adjust timing or anything to actually be able to watch this movie, which is
this part of your Fulci thing too?
No. It's All My Friends 2, or in some circles, My Friends Act 2. And
what was My Friends?
So it's basically the same guys hanging out, My Friends, or All My Friends. I didn't watch the original. Because...
Wait, are you talking about us? Your friends, or the movie? Well, I'm confused.
You know that I watch Mike. That's how I know more about his life than he does. So the movie opens up, and a train is going by, and this dude is just these people are hanging out the window saying their goodbyes to their loved ones, and this dude is just jumping up, slapping everyone in the face.
So it's a slapstick comedy.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah.
Slapstick?
So the next thing we see, where this dude just parks his car in the middle of a cemetery, and there's a cemetery guy.
Ooh, graveyard.
It's hey, you can't do that. And the guy's like, speaking a nonsense language, and he walks away. And then he sees a guy selling flowers, and he's like, hey, how much are the flowers? And the guy's like, 8,000 lira, so they're 1,000 to 1 or whatever. And he's like, well, how about 6,000? The guy says no, so he says, fuck you. And then he goes and steals flowers off of some graves. And so then he ends up at a grave, and then these friends come together. You have Sassalieri, let's call him Sassy, because I wrote his name down, but I don't have any idea how to pronounce it. So Sassy is a doctor. We have Melandri. We have Machete.
My Laundry?
Yeah, My Laundry. We have Machete, who is from royalty, but
Danny Trejo.
He no longer has any of his money. We have Necchi, who owns a
restaurant.
Whoa.
Is Machete the black dude from my film, the colored fella?
Machete? We'll call him Machete. Yeah.
Okay.
So we have Sassy, My Laundry, Machete, and Necchi.
I like Necchi. He's my favorite.
Yeah, he owns the restaurant. Melandri is sort of like a politician kind of guy. And they're over the grave of their dead friend Perosi, who ran a newspaper.
Proxy?
Pierogi. We'll call him Pierogi. It's just so insensitive. This goes back to Mike's guinea comment,
Oh, God.
So
I'm glad Mike isn't reviewing it.
Well, these guys don't sound like guineas. These guys seem like cool Italian guys.
So Perazzi's dead, and his 4 friends are hanging out at his grave. It's been a year since he died. And all of a sudden, the doctor, Sassy, notices a guy mourning at another grave. And then they're like, well, I'm going to go over there. And then the other guys are like, no. And he's like, stop it. I saw him first. And I was like, whoa, this is just getting right in there. Because I thought they were he's going to go come on to him. I'm like, okay, this movie's different from what I thought it would be. But no, instead he goes over there, and the guy is mourning, and you see from the paraphernalia around the grave that the man there must be the husband, and it's a dead woman in the grave. So he just sits there, and he's like, oh yes, he starts talking. She was so lovely in the time that we had. And he's like, oh, are you part of her extended family from wherever? And he's like, well, I would say we were more than family. And then the conversation continues, and this doctor, he has no idea who this guy is, basically just says yeah, I was, we shared her love. And then he goes on and says, yeah, she was great in bed and blah, blah, blah. And then the guy just
flips the fuck out. And then the other friends come in and like, oh, you did it all wrong. Parazzi would have done it so much with more subtlety, and they would have been hugging at the end of it. And like, he was so good, he made the baker's wife die to fuck her better. And with that quote, we go to a flashback. So we're actually going to see how he made the baker's wife die to fuck her better.
Sweet.
So what happens was he's always banging the baker's wife. Because
dude, all three of our movies have a lot to do with like weird sex.
Yeah. So he ran the newspaper and he worked at night because he had to have the newspaper printed for the morning. But then afterwards he'd go bang the baker's wife, and then morning would come, he'd go to the baker, get some breakfast pastries, and he'd be like, oh, I'm going to take some home for my wife. And then he'd go home to his wife. Well, this time his wife answers the door and says, you're a boob of a liar. And so she knows that he's banging the baker's wife, and she's like, I hope she has a horrible accident. And she leaves, and he has a kid, and so the kid stays with him. And a lot of this movie is like almost disjointed, where you just see them get into random antics, which is why my White Rascal beer I felt was really appropriate tying in. So the next thing you see is like the friends reminisce a lot, and you see a bit where they had like a recital. So they go to like a nice singing recital, and these people they're singing nice songs, and they go up there dressed really nice, and then they go like bum 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 butt fuck zoom,
Mr. Sandman,
butt fuck zoom, and then the song they sing says, and I can't sing it because they were singing in a different language, but it was subtitled, "Oh slut, you betray me. You say you come, but you piss instead."
Oh,
that's gross. Can I make a joke about something way back? I know it's not going to be funny now, but when you were talking about banging the baker's wife, like all that was running through my head was every time he knew it was time to do that, like there was a red light, like a Krispy Kreme. See, I knew it was terrible, but I just had to get it out.
So Parazzi,
I didn't even want that.
Parazzi's stuck with his kid, and he's always like bummed because like his friends are like, "Hey, let's go out drinking." He's like, "Well, I can't because of the kid." And they're like, "Ha ha ha! You fucking suck. Kids suck." And they're like, "Too bad kids aren't like dogs, where you can just leave them by the side of the road if you don't want them, or what they have for dogs, they have kennels, and you can just put them away." And then the one guy's like, "Oh, too bad they don't have kittles." And then the other guy's like, "Wait,
isn't that a crib?"
Well, then he gets excited talking about boarding school. But he can't afford boarding school. So Machete, who is like not a disgraced count, he comes from royalty, but that was like forever ago in the family line, and now he's nobody, but still thinks he's somebody. He ends up taking the kid, and he brings the kid to his house, which is just a horrible, tiny little rat hole. Like, it's basically just one room with, like, the bathroom separated by curtains, and they sleep on a bunk bed, and he's like, oh, here is the dining room, and it's, like, just one very small table and one chair. And, like, the whole time, though, he goes on about how it's modeled after Japanese efficiency, which is kind of funny. And so he ends up with the kid there, but then the kid, like, he reads the kid's journal, and the kid's journal is just basically like, oh, this guy is really sad, and his wife is constantly trying to kill them all because she doesn't want to live like this anymore. And so the kid goes back to Parazzi. So Parazzi.
Your movie doesn't sound that funny.
Oh, this sounds terrible.
This is depressing.
This guy's gonna grow up suicidal or other things. I don't know.
So anyway, what happens is Parazzi hears about this bus accident where 8 people died, and he tells the guy,
"Jesus fucking Christ!"
He tells the guy,
"You said your movie was funny,
hilarious.
This is great. This is a true dark comedy." So he tells the guy, "Hey, say that 9 people died, and include the name of the baker's wife in there." And so they do that. And now he goes back to his wife and says, "Look, you wanted her to die in an accident, and now she's dead. But now, I'm not sleeping around, so you can come back to me." So basically, he gets his wife to come back as a cover with the baker, so that the baker's not on to the fact that he's trying to bang his wife all the time.
How did the baker's wife look?
I mean, just weird in early 80s. She wasn't hot.
Wait, she's in her 80s?
No. The movie came out in the early 80s.
Oh, okay. I thought she was in her 80s. I'm like, why is this guy trying so fucking hard?
She really had it going on.
And so, in this part too, now we have with Melandri, who's the politician. There's I just wrote nun banging subplot. So basically, he finds religion because he wants to hang out with this nun, and the way things
and fuck her.
He wants to, but then because she's a nun, she says no. So basically, he starts to rape her.
Hilarious.
Yeah. And,
fucking knee slapper here. Harvey Keitel comes out of nowhere.
Starts sucking his dick.
So she starts praying.
They put a snake in the nun's fucking toilet. It's hilarious.
She starts praying for rescue, and they set the time of this flashback to, I guess, when there was actually a horrific flood in the town where they're at. So she prays to God to be rescued from this rape, and then this historic flood rolls in. The flood.
God is great.
The flood catches Parazzi with the baker's wife, and then they're exposed because the baker goes to rescue his wife and catches him there, and now Parazzi's wife finally leaves with the kids. And that's
Are they floating down like a flood river naked? Like, I don't get it.
They're floating in the room with like no clothes on, and then the baker comes in, and Parazzi tries to hide, but he can't because there's a fucking flood. And yeah, he just gets caught out, and he's like,
"Can't you go underwater?"
Well, not forever.
Yeah, but enough time to sneak by the guy,
his
swim
clothes
under
are
him.
floating in the room too. Was the problem?
Yeah, but that can be anybody's clothes. Anybody's clothes look the
okay,
same.
fine.
Wet.
Pick apart the movie.
No, I'm just saying I would have swam away.
So anyway, that's the story of how he killed the baker's wife to fuck her better.
Wait, so is she dead?
Parazzi's dead, but not because of that
Oh.
story. He apparently he died at the end of the first movie, but I didn't watch that. So now we.
But the baker's wife, is she alive? Or
Yeah.
did she drown?
No, everybody lives at the end of this flashback, which is like an extended flashback.
Oh,
It's
okay.
like 40 minutes to tell this story.
Oh, wow.
All right.
Then we come back to the present, and the guys leave the grave, and they decide they kind of want to go out partying, but Nietzsche, the guy who owns the restaurant, can't because his wife is not letting him go out. So what he does is he gets a buddy to bring flowers to his wife while he's home. So they're getting ready to go
buddy
out.
Harvey Keitel.
Yeah. Nietzsche and his wife are getting ready to go out, and then these flowers come, and Nietzsche's like, "Who the hell is sending you flowers?" And so he gets angry and storms out, and then goes and drinks with his buddies. Now, then there's a little gag in there with Machete, the Count. Remember that his wife hates their life. So we just have a moment where she wakes up early in the morning while everyone else is still sleeping, and she opens up the gas valves. Just because she wants to die, and she goes back to bed.
Christ.
And Machete gets up and goes to, light a match to, I guess, get a cigarette going by the oven, and then nothing happens, and you're like, well, what the hell? The gas is going out, and then he messes with the valve or whatever, and then he's like, oh, that's right, I couldn't afford to pay the gas bill, and then she just goes,
I never want to hear that sound again.
Oh, that's good. That got me.
That's when Harvey Keitel turns into full demon on his dick.
So now Nietzsche's wife is like, well, you never send me flowers. Who could have sent me flowers? And she's really curious who sent the flowers. And Nietzsche's like, I bet it was that guy, this guy who's always in their restaurant. And she gives a look like, okay, yeah, I'm going to fuck that guy. And then we have a subplot with Machete, the poor guy, and his daughter wanting to get an abortion, which is just odd. But she decides to keep the baby.
Oh, it's murder. Sorry.
Then they have this I don't know. It's like they just gave up on the story and just had funny bits where like the guy.
I'm still trying to figure out if Mike was serious. He really is just like, boo,
Stay
it's
tuned
murder.
until next episode.
So they go to Pisa and they make this big thing like, oh, the Leaning Tower is falling, and they screw around with everybody until the police come, and then they book it. And while they're leaving, they like go down a wrong road and they get pulled over by the police. And Nietzsche is the driver, so he has to give out and give his ID. And the cop is like, well, that's not you. And he's like, what the hell? And it turns out he has this other guy's ID who his wife has been banging. And then all his friends make fun of him. They're like, ha 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 ha! Look what you did! And then they drop him off, and the one guy's about to drive off, and the other's like, no, wait. And then you just hear him go, you cheating fucking whore! Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you! And then the friends are like, and then they drive off.
This movie is depressing the shit out of me, dude. Like, I'm not gonna lie.
So then the next day in the restaurant, Nietzsche is there with his friends and his wife, who has a horrible black eye. And he forces the guy his wife was banging to drink pea broth soup. And after that, there's a group of tourists
What's
there.
in that?
After that, there's a group of tourists in the
I want the
restaurant.
ingredients.
So they have all their cameras up like on hooks by their coats. So the rascals grab the cameras and they go in the back room and they take pictures of their asses and dongs. And then they put the cameras back for these tourists to have pictures of their asses and dongs. And then
I thought I'd have something to say about that, but I don't.
And the next week, now we then flash back again to when Perazzi was alive, and they're at a
Yay, Perazzi!
They're at a contortionist show with this woman doing all sorts of stuff, and Machete takes like money from them to show what he can do with her, and then we immediately see just kind of graphic contortion sex. And what happens is the Machete basically he's pretending to be really rich because he borrowed money from a loan shark to do this, just to bang the contortionists.
Wait, he knew that they were gonna go see this contortionist, and he had to be rich for her? Or?
Well, he wanted to have the contortionist, so he had this like regular con he did at hotel rooms where he would like get a couple nights free by like ducking out on the bill. But he kind of got into the game, and then so he borrowed money from a loan shark to keep playing at being super rich for a little bit, just to keep hanging out with the contortionist. And then he got out from it, but he couldn't get out from the loan shark. So he's hiding out. And what they do, the guys go to the loan shark, and they try to intimidate him, but he's a loan shark, and they're just like chubby old dudes. So he's like, yeah, no. And then they make a deal, but they get screwed. Where basically he's going to forgive the debt, but like he gets 6 months of cappuccino and pastries. So every day he's at Nietzsche's restaurant for his cappuccino and pastries. And if he doesn't like it, he demands fresh cappuccino and pastries. And then, of course, one guy's a doctor, so he gets free checkups. And he even asked him at 2 a.m. For the checkups. The contortionist comes back, and she's, upset, and she's lost everything because she thought, she was going to be with a rich count forever or whatever. And as she's talking about that, the doctor, she's not met any of the other guys yet. The doctor is like, oh, well, I own a circus chain. The doctor says he owns... Let me go back. So the doctor says he owns a circus chain, and maybe she could be in it, but look, he has to see... her performance. And so her performance involves her contorting herself into a case. So obviously she gets in the case, they lock it up, they slap a label on it, and they just throw her on a passing bus. Now the loan shark calls the doctor and tells him these things, and he's like, oh no, you need an immediate kidney transplant. So they get him in there, and obviously he pretends that these other guys gave him their kidneys and blah, 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 blah. And that to, negate their whole deal and get the loan shark away. But then after the fact, the loan shark's well, you didn't get any of that in writing. You have to keep me. And so they're pissed and furious, and like they this happens in a car ride, so they throw him out of the car, and he's like, "That's fine, I had to shit anyway." And the one guy's like, "Wait, don't drive off." And so the guy goes to poop, but the other guy sneaks up with a shovel and grabs the poop away as soon as the loan shark poops, and then like flings it off. So then the loan shark gets up and it's like, I don't have any poop. And then like he comes back out and they're like, "Hey, we wouldn't actually leave you. Come back, get in the car." And then so he gets in the car and he's looking kind of like, freaked. And they're like, you look a little like sick. Is everything okay? And he's like, "Well, I went to poop and there was nothing." And then they're like, "Oh," the doctor's like, "You have defecato hysterio. You need an anal transplant." So of course that's how they get the loan shark off their back. And then the movie ends basically randomly. Machete's like, "You're not my friends. If I got caught, you wouldn't pay the ransom." And the doctor's like, "I've worked all my life, 35 years, to run a luxury hospital and have a house on top of a hill. I'm too old to start over now." And they all have their various excuses. One guy, the Nietzsche, is like, "I don't even have any money. Everything is in my wife's name. I couldn't help you." So he's just kind of like, "Well, you're not my friends. I can't count on you for anything." And he runs off and has a heart attack. And
So what happened with the anal surgery?
Oh, they left at that, but it was assumed, they got the loan shark off their back over that one.
Okay.
So now Machete...
What is an anal transplant?
Exactly. So Machete is handicapped now, and they're talking about how the new PC terms, like you don't say, handicapped. And then one guy just says, "You're an unfucking paraplegic." And then his daughter comes with the baby and it's like, "Oh, it's your grandpa, here you go." And he's like, "They throw the baby to me like I'm a urinal," and he pisses on me. And Machete is just broken and bitter and just unhappy to be in this wheelchair. But his friends set him up. They ran a scam so he get a pension from the city. So now he actually can
God damn it.
My
light just blew.
Your light just blew?
Yeah, in my room.
So
My light just blew. I'm in darkness.
I thought you were upset about somebody living off the government.
Yeah, I was about to go with you. I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, Angus. Fuck those guys. Goddamn government pensions.
That's what fucking got me. God damn it. No, my light just blew, so now I have no fan, no light.
Awesome. So the end of the movie, finally, the Machete gets into a wheelchair race and his buddies all cheer him on, happy for him, and it ends on a freeze frame of Machete in his little wheelchair. And that's all my friends do.
Right. That was fun.
I did not understand that movie one bit.
I guess it was a lot.
I liked every part of that movie. I just didn't quite catch the plot.
There wasn't really. It was very loose.
That's the plot.
It was just
that most important thing to a movie? That's the only part I didn't get.
That's a valid point, I guess.
Everything else, fantastic.
I should have written down more quotes.
I enjoyed the anal part. That was good. I wanted even to know more.
Yeah, I want to know the details of the surgery for an anal transplant.
So Mike, what are the best bullet points for your Chinatown sequel?
All right, the bullet point kind of is not actually in the movie. It's who the original director could have been. He was Robert Evans. He was he financed the original. Yeah. He couldn't direct this movie because he got, and I quote, too much plastic surgery. He brought a picture of a bunch of cats to his surgeon beforehand, and he said, "Hey, this is what I kind of want to look like. I want to get this look." And reportedly, when Nicholson saw the results for the first time, he was, and I quote, aghast. So Jack Nicholson ended up directing this film instead of Robert Evans.
Okay.
Do you guys remember?
That is my bullet point.
Do you remember that show that Comedy Central had about Robert Evans? Like it was like a
He's
cartoon.
the guy who killed his wife, right? Or no?
No, you're Richard Spencer or something.
Oh, okay.
But no, Robert
That's
Evans.
the white supremacist.
Oh, okay. I don't know. Somebody did. No, he was like a music guy who had like his hair
Phil
crazy.
Spector.
But Robert Evans, Spector. Yeah, that's it. Phil Spector. But your guy had like a show on Comedy Central. It was a cartoon that lasted like 4 episodes about his life, about just being a rich, like Hollywood guy, and it was like
I think I remember this.
It was like 2003, 2004, and it was so fucking bad. That's all I know about it. It was just really fucking bad.
When I looked up pictures of his face, he definitely looked like he brought cats to his surgeon and wanted to look like cats. So, it was great. So that's why you should watch this movie. Angus?
My best bullet point for this movie isn't... Well, I had like a lot of fun stuff in my movie, if you guys remember. Graveyard Gloria, circumcised KKK heads. But the one thing I saved kind of goes off like my thing from last time, which I never even brought up last episode, where you guys were talking about me dying while I wasn't on the mic.
We were very concerned.
So no, it sounded like it when you guys were just asking my wife to hop over my dead body to save it. But no, I finally got to hear it, and that was really funny. Good job, guys, making fun of my death.
And your morning wife.
So, yes. I had the thing from the last episode with the guy George Gaines, remember?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I may have found his partner in crime in this movie, because the executive producer of this movie was George Manass.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's it.
PJ, why should we watch your
right,
film?
So my selling point would be, and I guess it didn't come through when I was telling you what my movie was about, but it is really funny. I laughed my ass off a lot, and I don't really even like comedy. But my real selling point is that like these guys are basically like if we didn't ever grow up and we lived in Italy, because they just basically they're kind of scummy, but they're hilarious and they have a lot of fun and. They're like thicker.
They fuck each other's wives, apparently.
Thicker thin friends, no matter what. Just like we are. They're their own little distorted family, just like us. I thought of us a lot as I watched this movie.
I remember my first anal transplant.
Yeah, see, we would do that to a loan shark.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
Yeah, if we were 50-year-old Italian men in the 80s, we would do that.
All right.
Sweet.
All right, so now is our favorite part of the episode when we relate the movies that we watched to Paul W.S. Anderson's wonderful, glorious classic, not a sequel to Chinatown, Event Horizon.
It might have been.
Segment we call The Horizon Shift.
Horizon Shift.
And my Horizon Shift for the week, a man named Brian McMahon, and Brian McMahon is the colorist for My Two Jakes, and he is also the colorist, not only the colorist, but the master.
What the fuck is a colorist?
So do I talk or does Mike talk?
Yeah, you talk. I don't know what a colorist is.
Somebody tell me what a colorist is.
The colorist would basically be the guy in charge of the technical side of coloring the film. So, like, if they come in and say, hey, this is too blue, he'd go back to the film and adjust the light that's going through the film to the final print to be less blue or so on.
The man responsible for all the blue in Event Horizon is the man responsible for all the coloring in my movie as well.
I like that.
So that is my little little thing.
I've been hoping we would get one of these just like that for
like all the episodes. I'm finally, it's finally here.
I was shocked. I was like, yes.
I'm always looking for the colorist. What's the colorist's name again?
Yeah. Brian McMahon.
Brian McMahon.
Yeah, I've never wanted to do that much research.
I hope by the end of 2020 we know the name of a key grip, all the gaffers. We have that entire.
Yeah, I'll never forget my first colorist. So
Brian McMahon.
He has colored a lot of goddamn movies, including, if I may add, K-19: The Widowmaker.
Ooh,
whoa, damn!
Didn't we review that?
I could have been right out the gate with this.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I didn't want to.
No, you did U5, I thought.
Oh, I did.
What, really?
Yeah, I did U571.
You did U571. I love that you still forget what you watched.
Yeah, they might be the same movie. One is Jonathan Mostow and one's Catherine Bigelow. That's all I know.
Well, I guess I thought it was that movie too, so it's both of us. All right,
Angus. Bring Porky's to Horizon.
Bring us home, or I guess that would be left for TJ. So
yeah, I'm gonna round second for us. Fuck, dude, this one was really difficult. The best I could come up with was when the Porkies led the Klansmen to the gym and they were unaware of what was going to go on. It's kind of like the way Dr. Weir led the crew of the Lois and Clark to their doom. Except they didn't get their heads... Well, they got their heads, fucked
and there was
with,
weird naked stuff going on the event.
Yeah, so... Yeah, and
there's probably some circumcision, too.
Yeah, probably. So, yeah, that's mine.
All right. So for all my friends, I forgot to mention at the top, Melandri, he was played, Michael know, by the guy who played Ugo in Caliber 9. So not Rocco, not the big hairy sleazy guy, but the other main dude.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I don't know anything. Unfortunately.
Okay. But anyway, I thought you would watch him Caliber 9.
I almost guarantee I watched and liked it.
And one of the other guys was also in a Fernando De Leo movie. He was in, I think, The Italian Connection. His name is Adolfo Celli. Now
you guys have gotten really pretentious since you've gotten your fucking little app with all the Criterion shit. I don't like it. It's annoying the fuck out of me these days.
Fernando, he did sleazy 70s Italian gangster flicks. They're fun.
Which is probably on your goddamn app, isn't it?
No, it's not. Mike bought a Blu-ray collection that I borrowed.
I did enjoy it.
Yeah. So anyway, this Adolfo guy.
Oh, that movie. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. They're both in movies that you own, which is why I brought it up. Not to be pretentious, just because I thought you might remember a movie that you own.
Swaying the vote. I don't like it.
It only took 5 minutes, but yeah, now I remember it.
I'm not into the actual Horizon shit. This was just something I forgot to mention, but it's on the way to the connection.
Swaying the vote.
So Adolfo Celli or Adolfo Celli or whatever, he played Largo in Thunderball. He's a villain with an eye patch, and his boss was Blofeld, who is most famously played by Donald Pleasance in You Only Live Twice, but with a scarred up face. So we have a combination of villains, one with a scarred up face and one with at least one missing eye, and between the two, you are more than halfway there to Dr. Weir.
Nice.
You're Frankensteining.
Hell yeah, I
am. Honestly, I kind of like it.
Yeah, I like it.
That's pretty clever.
All right, so we've all said our piece. Now we can, I guess, round up and decide who wins the episode. So, Mike, you went first. Where's your vote going?
Well, Graveyard Gloria really is something I definitely want to kind of keep in mind for the future.
The fuck of death.
Great. The fuck of death. But I kind of liked all the slapstick infidelity of of TJ's Italian shit, and I got to make up for all the Italian things I've been saying. So I'm definitely voting for the Italian comedy of TJ's.
All right, I'll get you a copy since, like I said, it's impossible to find.
Hey, whoa, stop that! Don't bribe him with copies.
I'll watch the sequel to the sequel.
I don't give a shit.
I'll watch part 3.
There is a part 3.
I know.
Oh, no. Does Machete die in this one?
He's in the wheelchair still, but I don't know if he dies.
Mr. Angus?
Yeah.
Ah, fuck. I hated both of your explanations. They both sounded fucking dumb as shit.
It's either the woman shaking or the anal transplant, I guess you're picking between.
Oh, all right.
Well, mine has tons of women chasing and
no. Shut up. I'm gonna vote between that women shaking and anal transplant. Like those are what I'm going on. Oh fuck. They're
Our
both
choice.
really like because we're doing comedy. So
True.
I'm gonna pick the funnier of the two. Oh fuck. That's really hard. This is gonna piss off some people, but I think women shaking is funnier.
Yeah!
Just because after he shakes them, he fucks them too. Like, that's pretty funny.
Yeah,
anal transplant is just like,
butt,
you got a new
so
butt. Okay. Yeah, so I vote Mike.
TJ?
I am.
What is?
I'm very in between. Because, that Graveyard Gloria, man, for me too. I'm like, damn, where am I going
Best
with
part
that?
Of the pod.
But then there's the whole, the colorist. Like, I can watch a movie where someone's hands are in the pot that actually worked on Event Horizon. But it wasn't a comedy.
We all laughed. We all laughed a lot.
I think we laughed at my movie the most.
I'm going to go... You know what? Just because Porky's 2, because I don't want to have to watch Chinatown. And I'm not watching Two Jakes without seeing Chinatown first.
Yes.
So now Two Jakes has homework, which makes it a lot. So Porky's 2 and Graveyard Gloria. Oh, you know what? Porky's 2, but I'm turning it off after the Graveyard.
But the thing is, like, mine also has the setup of the first movie at the beginning, so
you know
kind of what's going on. Yeah, like you don't have to watch any first movie, and then Graveyard Gloria is about 40 minutes in, so you can shut it off right after.
All right, so having a tie is unprecedented, and we had a brief talk about this. We haven't had anything cemented yet, but for the time being, any tie will result in the next theme being a free-for-all restricted to the year of 1997, the year that Event Horizon came out. So that will be our theme for next episode. I hope you all had fun with these two dramas and one comedy that we talked about today. I've been TJ.
Which one was the comedy?
Mm-hmm.
Who gets the comedy? Because you said yours was so fucking hilarious. Oh wait, now it's fucking Keitel cocksuck? That's the comedy?
That's a good way to segue out. We'll just fade on that one.
All right, till next time.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Oh,
yeah. That was good. Oh shit, I forgot to end it. Wait, why isn't it stopping?